BTS news. The world of K-pop has once again been rocked by news that not only touched the hearts of fans, but also opened a new chapter in the dynamics that had been neatly stored behind the stage lights. Jungkook, the youngest member of BTS, made a surprising and heartwarming confession. Not about music projects or conscription trips, but about love, something that has always been a closed space for stars of BTS's class. And in an unplanned moment, RM, Jimin, and V gave their surprising and moving response. We always knew. A confession of love from Jungkook is not something that is easy to express. Over the years, he lived life under the global spotlight, being part of the largest boy group in the world, surrounded by the hopes, expectations, and love of millions of fans. Yet, beneath it all, his heart held something so personal, so profound, and so fragile. And when the time came to speak, his words echoed louder than the cries of the audience in the stadium. He did not mention names directly in the confession, but every expression, tone of voice, and look in his eyes carried a meaning that could not be misinterpreted. This is love. Sincere love. Saved love. A love that finally finds a voice. Social media is full of speculation. Who is Jungkook? Since when has he harbored these feelings? Why did he just say it now? But those questions are quickly silenced by the responses of three of his closest people in the group. RM, the wise leader. Jimin, the sidekick who understands every little detail of Jungkook's self. And V, or Taeyong, the figure who has always been a gentle shadow beside Magne. When reporters asked RM between radio interviews, he simply smiled before calmly replying, "We all grew up together. We know when someone is in love, even if they don't say it. Jungkook is our younger brother, and we always knew." There was no surprised tone in his voice, only sincerity and the recognition that love is not something that can be hidden forever, especially among those who have lived day after day in company, practice, hard work, and emotional silence that sometimes torments. Jimin, who has been known to have the strongest emotional closeness with Jungkook, added a statement that made many ARMY hearts melt. "I knew before he even knew." Sometimes, you can just look at a person and realize that he or she is in love. He's changed. He is calmer, but also more restless. He was looking for that one person among thousands of faces. And I know it's not just out of admiration. It's love. Jimin's statement seems to be the entrance to a larger recognition that Jungkook was never alone in harboring these feelings. He was silent, but not alone. His friends know. They understand. They're supportive. V, who in recent years has often been associated with more complex emotional dynamics with Jungkook, also spoke during an unplanned live session. With a soft voice and a dreamy-looking gaze, Taeyong said, "Love is not weakness. That's power. I'm proud of him because he chose to be honest. The world may never know how deep that love is, but we do. We see it every day, and we always knew." The sentence caused various reactions. Some fans took this as a sign that Taeyong might be the person in question. Others see it as an unspoken, yet ever-present form of solidarity and friendship. Over time, this recognition actually strengthened the relationship between the members and the ARMY. Instead of causing uproar or awkwardness, the love expressed by Jungkook became a turning point that brought warmth. Many fans feel connected to that honesty. Jungkook, who has been known to be secretive about his personal life, is now a symbol of courage. Not because he loves, but because he chooses to no longer hide it. Korean and international media also scrambled to compile a narrative. They tried to parse word for word, expression for expression, finding out who was the figure who had won the heart of the Golden Magne. But amid the frenzy of speculation, one thing remains clear. It's not about who, but rather about how love grows in silence, is shaped by time, protected by friendship, and finally released in honesty. The ARMY also showed tremendous support. The hashtags #WeLoveYouJungkook and #WeAlwaysKnew have been trending in various countries. Fans created fan art, video edits, and open letters voicing their pride in Jungkook. Many said that Jungkook's courage gave them the strength to also be true to themselves, to love without fear, to live without a mask. Behind the scenes, BTS members are also increasingly showing their closeness. RM is caught on camera talking seriously to Jungkook several times, while Jimin and Taeyong appear to be more warm and protective towards him. Fans realize that this is not just about public support, but about a long, established family not because of blood, but because of shared experiences and love. On one special occasion, when BTS held a short live stream from their rehearsal room, Jungkook spoke directly to fans. His voice trembled for a moment, but his eyes were firm. "Thank you for accepting me. Thank you for not making me feel guilty for loving. Love is part of who I am, and I don't want to hide it anymore." That sentence made millions of people around the world hold their breath. There was silence, followed by a storm of emotions that swept through the comments column. And on the screen, Taeyong, who was sitting next to him, just turned his head and said quietly, "We know. We always know." No further explanation, no clarification, but enough to make the world understand that love is real, and it has long been witnessed by those who are nearby. The dynamic between BTS members now seems more mature, more honest, and stronger. Jungkook's love, be it for someone specific or as a symbol of emotional openness, becomes a bright spot in the long narrative of the group's journey. RM, Jimin, and V not only respond as group mates, but as companions who understand the burden and courage behind each confession. Meanwhile, speculation continues to circulate. Some fans have speculated that Jungkook's loved one may also be a celebrity, perhaps an idol, or even someone in the same circle but unknown to the public. But not a few also believe that the love may be addressed to one of the members himself, a possibility that has been a whisper among the ARMY community, referred to as theory, fanfic, or simply hope. Whatever the truth, one thing remains indisputable: love is sincere. Love is not manipulated by the media or shaped by management. It comes from the heart and is confirmed by those who know him best. RM, Jimin, and V didn't just say "we know," they said it proudly, as if they had been looking forward to this moment for a long time. This story became more than just a love story. This is a story about the courage to love, to be honest, and to accept. About how the bond of friendship can be a bridge to understand love. About how the world can change when one person decides to open his heart. And perhaps, as RM says, this love is not the end of a secret, but the beginning of a truth that has been lovingly protected. A truth that has finally found its way to shine. As night fell in Seoul, and the city lights reflected softly in the dorm windows that had become quieter since some of the members were serving military duty, Jungkook sat alone on the balcony. The cold night air caressed his cheeks, but he did not feel cold. Not because he was wearing a heavy jacket, but because his heart was enveloped by an invisible warmth, acceptance. For the first time in her life, she felt whole after hiding half of herself for so long. He stared at the dark sky full of stars and let his mind drift back to his early days with BTS. At that time, he was an awkward teenager who was more silent than talking. He remembers how RM guided him like a real brother, taught him how to catch his breath while singing, helped memorize choreography, and reminded him to eat on time. He also couldn't forget Jimin, who always knew when he felt anxious without asking, who often hugged him silently when the mood was heavy. And of course, V, who secretly always knows when he needs someone to hear, without giving any advice. It was those little moments that eventually became the foundation of the love that slowly grew in his heart. A love that he himself could not name at first. Is it just admiration? Gratitude? Emotional attachment? But the more mature he becomes, the more he realizes that what he feels is deeper than just friendship. And he was scared. Fear that love will destroy what they have built together.